everyone to Inspired by, powered by Tag Network Midlands. Today, I am joined by Michael Adeniya. Now, Michael is the COO of the UK Black Business Weekend Show. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, Samantha. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. So let's start at the very beginning. How did you get involved with working on the UK Black Business Show and Week?
Interesting. Yeah. So I've been with the UK Black Business Show for just over 2 years, or just coming up to 2 years. And it's funny how it kind of came about. So Raphael Sofaluk, he founded the UK Black Business Show back in 2017. And when he founded the show, it was really just out of desire to see a space for entrepreneurs and career professionals to be able to share ideas and to inspire each other. But he started it as a side hustle. So he had a full-time day job at a business that I also worked at, a company called Clarion Events, another event business. And it was in my time at Clarion chatting to Raf that he mentioned to me, yeah, so kind of got this thing as a side hustle going on. And through those conversations, I was like, Raf, this is not a side hustle. Like at the time, he was telling me about it in 2020, I think it was, and it was already at 2,000 attendees. I think there's just over 100, 120 exhibitors, something like that. Some incredible Black-owned businesses and some incredible corporate partners involved as well. I was like, Raf, like, I don't know why you have this day job when that is something that you're working on the rest of the time. So Raf managed to get Clarion to invest in the business and to help him grow and scale it. And it is in that process that he asked if I wanted to join the team as well. So yeah, I kind of said yes almost immediately, and here I am now.
Amazing. So is your background in events as well then? Have you been working on events for quite a long time?
Yeah, I've pretty much been working in events since probably 2003, 2004. My first ever event was an event called Santaland, which was a massive sort of Christmas fair at Earl's Court, which Earl's Court doesn't even exist now. And then moved on from there to an event that was all about outdoors and skiing and snowboarding. So I've kind of always had an opportunity to work on events that are also something that I'm quite passionate about, and I'm quite passionate about adventure sports and outdoors and so forth. And that's continued on through to events in the biotech sector, and then now working in Black entrepreneurship, which I come from a family of entrepreneurs and immigrants that moved from, I'm an immigrant myself and moved to the UK when I was 2 years old. So being in this space right now, again, it just something just really fulfilling. So I'm really lucky and grateful for that.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been in events so long that nothing could really faze you, but I imagine there's quite a lot of challenges with setting up something so big.
Yeah, so back to my first event, I cried on site at my first event because it was a disaster, right? And seeing like that one was a genuine disaster, and being able to see, look, whatever it is that I'm going through right now, show wise, it is never going to be as bad as that. Like I think that, yeah, that's the sort of thing that was always in my mind when when you're really up against it, when it's quite overwhelming, when you're running short on time. Events, and it's even like a birthday party, you send out the invites and will anyone show up? Is anyone actually going to show up? But having that feeling when it's something that you build as, having 10,000 people, 20,000 people, then it's like, oh, yeah, they come.
Amazing. So you started off in London and now you're moving the event to Birmingham. So what does it mean to move the event over to Birmingham?
Yeah, so the London show is now, 6 years old? But even then, we've always had a really strong audience from the West Midlands that have said, when are you going to do a show for us? Why do you keep making us get the train down to London? Like, we deserve our own show. So it was off the back of that, really. So last year, and there's just quite a few things that happened at the same time. You got the West Midland. Birmingham is one of the most diverse cities in Europe. You've got that whole West Midlands area, Wolverhampton and so forth, is a hotbed for entrepreneurship. the city, or I've got connections with the NEC, and in and around Birmingham, it's so well connected for the rest of the country as well. And I think it's somewhere in the region of like 15% of our audience, whether it is on social media or whether it's physical people that came to the London show, are all from that area. So, and then the thing that that just sealed it was we have a really good relationship with HSBC. They're the headline sponsor of the London show. Their UK HQ is in Birmingham as well. So it just kind of like all made a lot of sense that, 2021 is the year that we launched the Birmingham show. And it was, really, really great success as a first year show. We had support from all parts of the community, profit, non-profit, government, etc. And I'm really passionate about keeping a show like this at the NEC for the next 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like it just kind of fell into place for you. Everything was aligned and perfect. So yeah, no, it's amazing. So what can people expect if they're coming to come and visit?
There's so much going on at this year's show. So we always try to have a theme for what the event is about, and also try and think about the different audience personas that we want to engage at the show. Theme for this year's show is really around building a sustainable ecosystem for the West Midlands, the Black business community in the West Midlands. And what you're going to get under one roof is all the different partners, a whole range of Black-owned businesses. We've got 2 seminar stages full of great content, some incredible speakers, really hands-on workshops. And whether you are an entrepreneur or whether you are trying to build your career in a certain sector or certain industry, there's going to be something at the show for you. Something else that you'll expect at the show is that it's multi-generational. I bring my whole family to the show, and you'll see people from all ages. Our youngest speaker is 17 years old. And our oldest speaker, I don't want to guess how old our oldest speaker is, but it goes it goes all the way through. So we've got a really mixed agenda, really diverse panels. Audience is really, I think our audience is about 68% women. So we also try and make sure we represent that on the program. So we've got incredible speakers all the way through that are really well known. Margarine Cole is opening up the show, incredible presenter and TV host. We've got the likes of Justice Williams as a key speaker. Daniela Genus is giving a keynote. And even your very own founder and CEO, Denise, is also speaking as well.
Yeah, there's a really interesting range of speakers. And the thing I kind of noticed about a lot of the seminars as well is there's a lot of stuff about business and entrepreneurship, but then there's more holistic things as well about mindset and things like that. And it's great to see that you're covering every aspect from sort of the well-being of an entrepreneur as well as the more businessy side of it as well. So yeah, no, there's an amazing range of speakers, and you get some really big names as well. I've seen that you've got Stephen Bartlett in London as well in October, so that's really exciting to see.
Yeah, and I mean that's probably it's one of the things that really excites me about the show, and that the quality and caliber of our speakers just gets better and better. So for Birmingham, I'm really excited about Sir Trevor McDonald is giving a keynote interview. Shelley Bishton is going to be interviewing him, and she's a Birmingham girl as well. So being able to sort of have an intimate conversation with someone like him, that it's almost like you're sat at the dining table with someone like that, and on the inside, rather than when they're on the TV and whatnot, like having a real conversation with them. So we always try and shape those sessions in a way to make it as intimate as possible. And it's going to be the same as with Stephen Bartlett for the London show as well. Everyone's now seen him on TV, they see him on the podcast, hear him on the podcast as well. But Raphael, our CEO, he's going to be interviewing Stephen. So it's going to come across as something that's really personal. He's someone that we both look up to as well. So I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you choose your speakers? Do you have like a dream list of people and then work your way through and see what they say?
Yeah, we do. And it's sometimes it's one of those hard things because everyone's always like, oh, who's on the dream list? Tell us who's on your dream list. Like, give us an insight as to what you're thinking. And it's like, I just don't want to disappoint people if we don't nail the people that we want. But I feel like this time round, it's worked out. It's worked out really, really well. So yeah, it's normally like that. But then that's typically what it would be like for, say, our keynote speakers. But I think it's also to have a speaker panel that is representative of the audience that you want to have at the show. So for the Birmingham event, I think 70% of our speakers are all from the Birmingham and West Midlands area, and sharing their experiences. Like, there are people that you'll recognize that you've probably seen in around the Birmingham university scene, the entrepreneurship scene, and so forth. So that's also something that we want to make sure of. And that's one of the reasons why we built an advisory board for the Birmingham show. So yeah, you can probably tell I'm not from Birmingham. Yeah, you could call me a Londoner, but I live in South Wales now. But in terms of having an advisory committee for that show is so, so important for us, that we've got a team of people that, we would not be able to create this Birmingham show without an advisory committee. And they are, people that represent so many different parts of that Birmingham community, that know all the right speakers, have all the great connections. When we first told the committee that we wanted to bring a show like our London event to Birmingham, they were so passionate and so excited about it. And it was really important for us to make sure that it feels like their show as well. So our advisory committee, you'll see they're dotted all over the agenda, all over the show floor. We've got a careers zone at the show, and we've got some of the advisory committee members involved in advising young people or people of all ages around, what their career path might look like, job opportunities that are in that area. And the same with we've also got a business hub that is actually sponsored by Business Growth West Midlands, which is a sub-brand of the West Midlands Combined Authority. So even there, you'll see people on that advisory committee that want to be hands-on, giving people advice at the show as well. So yeah, really lucky to have a passionate and enthusiastic board like that to help us.
Yeah, it sounds like everyone's been super generous with the time and the effort they put into it, and it's built an amazing looking show. So yeah, that's incredible to see. So one of the main aspects of the show this year is the launch pad. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what the launch pad is?
Oh, how did I forget about that? Yeah, so the launch pad. We've always had a section of the agenda for SMEs to just get up on stage and pitch their business and just share what they're doing, maybe just a quick sort of 4 or 5 minute pitch. And normally it's been quite informal. So last year we thought, you know what, let's try and maybe step this up a little bit, because if we can get support from some corporate organizations, then you know what, maybe the winning pitches, what can they go on to achieve? Is there something is there a journey that we can take them on? So we created the Launchpad last year. Really pleased to be working with Lloyds Bank in partnership with it. And we essentially put a competition out there, have an opportunity to pitch at the show for free, and the winning pitches will get a trophy, a free exhibition stand, so you actually get a free stand for the next year's show, and a whole range of support from Lloyds Bank, including a board advisor, mentorship. If the business was right, then actually there's an opportunity to be within the supply chain as a supplier to Lloyds Bank and other corporate businesses as well. So we launched that last year, and it was phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. And the winner of it was the CEO of a company called Evenfields Careers, and Denise Myers. And she's now, over the last year, her business has just gone from strength to strength. Like, it's grown exponentially from all of the support that she got from it. And now, obviously, like I mentioned, she's going to be an exhibitor at this year's show. But we're also passionate about passing the baton on. So she's going to be a judge on the panel for this year, and actually judging the pitches that are going to be on stage as well. So we did the the competition's kind of expanded this year. We've done the first round just over a month ago, where we had the top 10 to pitch to a smaller audience, only say 30, 35 people in that audience. But then at the show, the final 4 are going to pitch to a full audience of give or take 500. So one of the chair of our advisory committee member, Dr. True Powell, I think he's also a board member at Tag Network. So he's been doing one-to-one sessions to get the final 4 finalists prepared for their pitch for the show as well. So I can't wait to see it. And yeah, 4 really, really cool businesses, all very, very different in their makeup as well, but all sort of adding value and have a really nice story to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. So pitching in front of 500 people sounds absolutely terrifying to me. Do you have any tips for anyone that has to go and pitch in front of lots of people like that?
Oh, I don't think, have I ever pitched in front of that many people? Maybe I've done a couple of pitches in that sort of range, but in terms of advice around that, I mean, it's all about preparation, and actually you don't need that much time to get your story through. And I'll probably say that the last thing about it is just to speak from the heart. Like, just one of the things that I noticed when we did the pitching day last month was that some of the best pitches that were there, they may have felt nervous and so forth. They may not have been the most polished pitch, but we had finalists that are coming through to the show next month that actually they just delivered their pitch from their heart and made sure that they got their message through and their value through, and they connected in terms of that they connected their enthusiasm so well that actually, the communication part, what was it, 70% of it is your body language, your tone and all of that, and that all comes through. So sometimes it's a case of, you can prepare all you want, but actually if you're speaking from the heart and speaking with authenticity, that counts more than anything. And as a sort of side lesson from that, that's sometimes, I know that from my personal experience of when I've delivered a bad pitch, when I've actually over-prepared, I've written it word for word, and I've realized that I'm not a word for word person. I can't memorize things like that. And then it starts to come across like robotic and whatnot, but actually, you know what? Sometimes just getting the core points that you want to get through written down and communicating it from the heart is sometimes way more effective. For me anyway, that's what works for me.
Yeah, I think those are great tips. I think the more human you are and the more you can share your purpose and message, then it's always going to come across, isn't it? That's amazing. Totally. Yeah. So what have been the biggest challenges with organising an event like this?
So this show is massive and there's so many moving parts to it. And actually, when you think about the audience as well, the type of audience you want, it's not like you've got, let's say you created a show that's, for selling for the sewing industry, let's say, just picking a random industry. Everyone that comes through the door is attending because they are, selling sewing machines, buying sewing machines, like there's a real central sector. But our event is across multiple sectors. It's not necessarily for business owners. It could be for consumers as well. We have a retail section. So anyone can come just because they want to buy products from Black-owned businesses. So I'll probably say the challenge for this event is actually, how do you communicate all these sort of micro values of the show to such a broad audience that actually, they are not all carbon copies of each other. So I'll probably say that's one of the challenges of it. And then you're probably going to ask me, well, how do you overcome that as a challenge? Like, what do you do around that? I think that the values of the event are really, really important. And, going into sort of, you can break down into event tactics and so forth. And, we definitely do look at those in the core personas that we want to communicate. And we have sort of micro marketing campaigns that communicate each of these aspects. But I think sometimes when you break down an event that, you're aiming for 2,000, 3,000 attendees, but then when you actually break it down and say, well, look, I need 300 to be passionate about education or to be school leavers or university leavers, I'm going to create a micro experience just for them and a micro campaign just for them. And then when you break it down into the smaller segments, it makes it so much easier to digest, so much easier to communicate, and also to just manage that overwhelm of, like I said, when it's a party that you're trying to organize a party for 3,000 people and not sure where they were going to come from, when you break it down into those segments, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, there's some really great tips. So I imagine at times it can get quite stressful. Do you have any sort of stress coping mechanisms, or have you not mastered that yet?
I am, yeah. So I yo-yo like that all the time. I get anxiety, and then I don't sleep well. When I'm at my most stressed, my diet goes out the window, my exercise goes out the window. And sometimes I have to just tell myself that, you know what, when you are up against it, it would be ideal to keep on top of it and be going to the gym and getting all your nutrition right. But I'm going to be honest, sometimes it just doesn't happen, right? That's just how it is. But what I do kind of tell myself is that this is a phase. It's only a moment in time, and that I'll get through it. And when you get through the other side, you'll be all right. So I do try and just keep on top of the little bits, even if it's just this morning, for example, I've got a couple of young kids as well that they were up really early. So I think I managed to do 10 minutes of exercise in the garden before I was disturbed. Like I was telling you before we went live about my son's foot. So if I can do just those little bits, then it gets my day started off a little bit better. But I think on top of that, with a large scale event, what you notice are the little things that might not be perfect or might not have gone the way that you wanted it to. But the audience, they barely notice these things a lot of the time as well. And it's taken years of doing so many events that you realize, mate, it wasn't I know that you can be the biggest judge of yourself, and you can be like, you know what, I know it wasn't absolutely perfect, but everyone had a great time. And there might only be 3 things that you really want people to walk away with that is memorable. All the other things, you know what, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of that sort of analogy of a swan on the water, where on the top it looks all graceful and underneath it's just pedaling frantically underneath. None of the audience will know about all the amazing and extra stressful work you've been doing, but it looks great on the surface, so it's all good.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. And it's always, people always ask me, I literally don't think I've ever done an event where anyone's not asked me, Mike, nice, so what do you do the rest of the year? I'm like, guys, this did take an entire year to put together. So it's not like it's a part-time job that I do for a month and then I don't do anything for the rest of the year. It's something that we do work on throughout the year.
Yeah. So when, in terms of that, then how do you find the people to come and be on the different stands and things like that? Do you go and research them and approach them, or are they coming to you now?
Bit of a mix. Yeah, we do get a lot of inbound inquiries for exhibiting at the show. So we got some great local businesses that just got in touch. They've seen our social media or advertising. We've also connected with some great partners. So we've got the Legacy Centre. They run a business hub, and they've got 6 businesses coming that are part of their sort of business community exhibiting at the show as well. So yeah, and a lot of word of mouth. We're only in our 2nd year, and as far as Black-owned businesses go, I think we're going to have somewhere in the region of 50 to 60 Black-owned businesses at the Birmingham show that are all from in and around that Birmingham area. So it's really exciting to see, and exciting that people are telling others about the show and getting them involved. So yeah, we get the exhibitors come from there. In terms of people that work at the show, We have volunteers that are coming from some of the universities all across the city as well. So they come and help out, because there's a day out for a student or a young person. Yeah, they get a free ticket to the show. They will also be able to, see some of the sessions, but also feel like they're part of it. Like I said, like, it's so important that we make the Birmingham community feel like they are a part of the show. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. I think we've got about 15 to 20 students that are, all BCU and Aston and so forth, helping out the show.
Amazing. So you mentioned as well that understands people can shop some of the products that people are selling. What kind of things are you going to have on offer this year?
Yeah, so there's some really cool offers. We've got some brilliant hair and beauty companies. So there's some products that are going to be available there. And there'll be some unique show discounts. We've got some brilliant food and beverage businesses exhibiting as well. So you'll be able to get samples of some nice food too. But one of the biggest growing areas of the show, actually, we've got organizations like, if you are a startup and you're in that sort of business space, we got exhibitors that offer various kinds of business services, from marketing solutions, IT solutions, accounting, legal, whole range of different services. So wherever you are on your sort of business growth journey, there's probably an organization that's exhibiting that's going to be there to support you. But I also can't forget some of our sort of corporate partners as well. So we've got some corporate partners that are there to help organizations grow and scale their business, including HSBC, Lloyds Bank, Be the Business, the Business Growth West Midlands, which is part of the combined authority. The Chamber of Commerce are exhibiting as well. So yeah, a whole range of different types of businesses that you can buy products from, you can learn from, and they're there to support people on their growth journey. We've also got exhibitors that are there to support people on their career journey. So we've got the likes of Deutsche Bank, Charles and Hamlins, the Birmingham Black Lawyers. So depending on what your career path might look like, which maybe you haven't even chosen your career path yet, there's going to be organizations that are really cool employers based in Birmingham that want to inspire you on what your next career path might look like too.
Yeah, sounds great. So in terms of networking, if someone wanted to come along and do a little bit of networking, what kind of tips do you have for them, and what kind of services are there for that?
Oh, nice. Yeah. So before the show even starts, get on the Slack channel. So we create a Slack group for the show, and people are introducing themselves on that Slack group. They're making themselves known. They're telling people why they're coming to the show and who they're looking to meet with. So people are already making connections before they get on site. So and we have people that come to the show by themselves. So actually, to introduce yourself to people ahead. And what I noticed last year, that we're seeing people say, yeah, I'm coming from Leicester, I'm coming from Manchester, I'm coming from here. Oh, what time do you train? Why don't we come down together? Are you going to the after party? So it was really cool to see people kind of make connections ahead that they then kind of meet in real life at the show, and keep those connections, because the Slack group is open all year round. So there's people still connecting in that group as well. So definitely get involved in that, and just use every opportunity to meet yourself, to introduce yourself. So on the seminar stage, we got a stage that's all really around sort of like workshop style sessions. So we made that stage have round tables in there, so you can get down on a round table so that people can make notes and things like that and bring their lunch or whatever. But you can sit next to people and just use every opportunity to introduce yourself, find out why someone else is in that same session as you, what they learned from it. I think there's a really nice peer-to-peer experience out of events like this, it's another one of the reasons that I just love working in events, is that although we might put on some content, put on different sessions and drop-in clinics, some of the greatest sort of learning points are when people meet someone that has a similar interest to them, and they're sort of engaging on a peer-to-peer level.
Yeah, I love that you thought about all the different ways you can facilitate conversation and connection even outside of the event. Like the Slack channel is a brilliant idea. Yeah, I love that everyone's connecting like that. So how do you find networking yourself? Is it something that you're quite a natural at, or is it something you've had to kind of figure out as you go along?
Yeah, figured out as I go along. I wouldn't say I'm a natural at it, because I'm probably I am an introvert. Like, so many people are like, what are you on about, Mike? You're absolutely lying. But whenever I've done these sort of like personality tests, it always comes back that that's who I am, because I typically will wait for people to speak before I speak. Whereas I've got some friends of mine that they'll be chatting to everyone and everyone, and in a scenario where I'm like, hold on, how did you even make eye contact? And before you know it, they're sort of best friends. So yeah, I think for me, I've just had to sort of learn along the way, take opportunities to introduce myself and share my story, and yeah, hopefully, see what kind of people connect with that. I'm a big user of LinkedIn, and I think that that's also been a really good opportunity for me to expand my network, and share what I do. And just working in events, you're kind of forced to meet a lot of people in a very short period of time. So trying to get to someone's story relatively quickly is something that I've kind of had to do myself, and had to sort of get out of people as well.
Yeah, you figured out which questions to ask to kind of get where you want to
go. Yeah, that sort of thing. And those little tips of like, how do you memorize someone's name, and like, repeating it 3 times. And I think there's always little things that are quite tactical that do help, that actually over time they just kind of become ingrained in you.
Yeah, definitely. So what are you most looking forward to at this year's show? What's going to be top of your hit list of things to check out?
If I'm still standing, I cannot wait to see the Sir Trevor McDonald talk. I really can't wait for that. That's definitely going to be one of the highlights of it for me. Another thing that we got at the show, actually, we've got a behind closed doors session that's really for businesses that are scaling up. And it's an intimate session. I think we've only created it for 20 businesses. They're going to be in a sort of learning experience that's going to be hosted by Daniela Genus. But we've invited an investor, a lady called Chanel Answer, who's a partner at Cornerstone VC, and also Byron Carnegie, the managing director of Jemaya Restaurant, who's also an entrepreneur, a multiple entrepreneur in the Birmingham area as well. And that's a behind closed doors experience on the challenges of scaling. And I think, again, just to that nod of the different types of experiences, this is off the show floor, it's behind closed doors, round table, bit of a, there's lunch and coffee and teas on the table and so forth. So that's sort of a more intimate experience. I'm really excited to see how that one goes as well. So there's like big stage session of, 500-600 people, but then also sessions for just like 20 people. I'm really cool to see how that goes.
Yeah, I love that. So when the event's over, how do you feel? Is it like, I don't know, how do you feel when the event's over? Is it like hard to decompress? Are you hyperventilating? Like what happens?
Yeah, you know what? It's actually, so I played professional rugby for quite a few years, and after a game, I get the same sort of feeling after a big event, where I kind of like crash a little bit, and I just feel like, as you say, in terms of decompressing, I just need that time to just wind down, empty my brain, empty my mind, and know that, and essentially get ready to go again. So for this year, the show is on the 17th, Saturday the 17th. Sunday is Father's Day, and my wife and kids are taking me away for a few days, where I'm just going away. We're just going to sort of like a sort of country house somewhere, and just wind down for a few days before coming back to work. So yeah, so there's a balance. There's like that, a feeling of pride that you've done a great job, and we're inundated with so much feedback. The vast majority is really positive feedback, which is always great. But then there's always those niggles that you wish you could have improved on, and so forth. So your mind is kind of worrying a little bit. So to be able to just say, you know what, it's done. Let's just draw a line under it for a few days, unwind, and then come back and you can sort of, take it from there. I think that's something really important to factor in. I always try and factor in time off or a period to reset after big events.
Yeah, it's important to find that work-life balance, isn't it? So in terms of relaxing and winding, other than spending time with your family, what kind of things do you do to unwind?
I love podcasts. I'm a really keen gardener at the moment, so growing quite a lot of veg out in the garden, and that for me is, especially when the weather's good, being able to spend time by yourself. I might listen to a podcast or an audio book while just sorting out the garden. That's some of the sort of really nice things for me to wind down. I try and exercise. I used to be able to exercise sort of 4 or 5 days a week, but now, if I can just get 15-20 minutes of exercise in the garden, a few times a week, I think that keeps me sane.
Yeah, I'm totally with you with the gardening thing as well, because you can't focus on anything else except the gardening when you're doing it, can't you? So it just switches everything else off. I totally with you that.
100%. And it's also something that you kind of have to, like, you won't see the success overnight for what you do in the garden. So you know that what you do today, you're not going to reap the rewards of it for many, many more days to come. So it teaches me patience of, like, you know what, just slow down, just do the little bit that you need to do today. And provided that you're doing good things, the rewards will come later. So it also just teaches me to just like think about my pace in life as well.
I love that there's a business lesson in that. Maybe all event managers should get into gardening to sort of build
100%. And you don't need a lot of space to do it. Don't need much space. You can, things can grow in the most remarkable places.
Yeah, totally. So, end of event, you've decompressed, you've done your gardening, that's all sorted. How soon do you jump into next year's event?
Unfortunately, they overlap. So I'm kind of always working, well, because we got the London show in October. So I'm kind of already working, or have been, since last October pretty much, on the next London show. We're always, we have to be thinking about securing the venue before we get on site. So we're actually, and also thinking about, what new features, how do we take it up another level? Because the world changes so quickly. Like, if you had asked me a year ago or a year and a half ago, is AI going to be on your agenda? I would have been like, I don't know. I don't think it would be. Should it be? And now in June 2022 or 2023, you're like, if AI is not on your agenda, then you're missing the boat. Like, there's so many, like, things just move so quickly that you have to be thinking about it well in advance, but also have the opportunity to sort of react to this fast-paced world that we live in as well. We're really working on the London event. We've got the Birmingham event that's going to be at the NEC again next year in June, basically the same dates, I think the 14th of June. We've got the Black Tech Achievement Awards in February, and we're also launching a community, the sort of digital community that's going to support our audience and communicate, resources and tips and advice and conversations just like this all year round outside of the big shows as well. So we're super busy.
It's non-stop. So how are you integrating AI into your event this year? What kind of conversations are you going to be having?
So there's a couple of areas. So in terms of looking at it from a careers perspective, the kind of jobs that you do, the jobs that are out there in the market right now, then the career path for everyone is moving so quickly. So if you were to look in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, there might be jobs that exist today that don't exist in 10 years' time. And the jobs that we need to recruit for in the future, we may not necessarily know exactly what they are right now, but how do we prepare our skill set to be able to adapt to that moving world? And that might mean things like, for example, although you may not although you may not work in AI right now, well, how do you leverage that as a tool for the benefit of your career path? So we got conversations around, just preparing yourself for the world of work for the future. And then we've also got sessions for an entrepreneur. We got a round table around how to leverage AI as an entrepreneur in order to speed your business operations and so forth, like what tools are out there that you can just use to leverage and help scale your business right now. So we've got a couple of sessions around that, but in general, I think it's just the focus for this event is around building on that ecosystem, making the West Midlands aware that there is an integrated ecosystem for building your business, for looking at your career path and what job path you might be looking at. There's so many skills. There are organizations like Tag that you can be that you can be within a network of like-minded people as well. So having all of that under one roof, I just can't wait to bring it all together and bring it to life.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be really inspiring for so many people to come and see everything. So yeah, cool. Okay, at the end of everybody's interviews, I'm asking them 3 of the same questions. So first of all, what's one piece of advice you wish you'd been given early in your career?
Ooh. Oh, interesting one. I'll probably say I wish that I knew my values much earlier. So probably only like in the last, 6 years or so, I've done a little bit of work reading Brené Brown, Dare to Lead and books like that around, well, what are my values? Like what are my non-negotiables? What are the things that's really, really important to me that regardless of whether I'm up or down, that I always come back to? And for me, that is continuous improvement is one of them, and agency or self-agency, like just being able to not waiting for someone else to do something for you and knowing that whether it's good or bad, I'm responsible for whatever that outcome is. So knowing what my values, if I knew that a lot earlier, I think it would have made me make different choices and more intentional choices in what I do or what I don't do. I think very early on, I was quite easy to go with the flow, which, you know what, it isn't a bad thing. Like I'm really happy and grateful with where I am today. If I wasn't sort of just saying yes to things and just seeing where it might end up, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. But I think that if I was to give myself a piece of advice earlier, like if I was in my teens and I knew this, then maybe I could have got to where I am a lot quicker, potentially. So yeah, understanding your values, like reading a book like Brené Brown, Dare to Lead, and just knowing what really truly motivates you, I think is a really good piece of advice for anyone of any age. And it's not too late if you haven't done it now. Yeah,
and it sounds like you're in the perfect career for your values now. So you found your path and you're there. It's all good.
Yeah, I've got there in the end.
Cool. And what is one book, podcast, or talk you'd like to recommend to everyone other than Brené Brown's Dare to Lead?
Oh yeah, okay. So, like I mentioned, I used to play rugby, so I've got a sporting background. There's a podcast called the High Performance Podcast. It's hosted by a sort of psychology professor and a TV host. But on one episode, they interview Dan Carter, who was a rugby player for the New Zealand All Blacks and probably one of the best rugby players, and in his position, definitely probably one of the top 3 in his position of all time. And he's obviously long retired from rugby now, but some of the tools that he developed in playing the game, he applies now in terms of how he supports his family and how he supports himself as a businessman as well. So that episode of Dan Carter on the High Performance Podcast, I think is brilliant. I think I've listened to that maybe like 5 or 6 times, just that one episode. So I highly recommend that.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out. Okay, and who is one person who has inspired you throughout your whole career?
So it's probably a cliche, but it's my mum. She retired last week from a nurse. She was a nurse in the NHS for 36 years. basically, all my life. And she graduated from her last degree this year as well. So she's always been someone that's never stopped learning all of her career, and has always lived a life of service. And whatever industry you work in, service, I think, is just a virtue that I think is really important, that it's not all about what you can take, but what you can give. So yeah, I think that if I was to wish anything for myself, it's that I continue to sort of live that legacy of my mum's virtues through me.
Yeah, and I think you're definitely doing that through this show, like the service that you're creating and in the people you're in service of for the Black Business Show is incredible. So yeah, she's obviously inspired you all through that as well. Cool. Okay, so if people want to find out more about you and your work and the show, where can they find you?
Yeah, for the show, if you haven't booked your ticket for the show yet, then get to www.birminghamBlackBusinessShow.co.uk. I'm pretty sure we created a discount code for TAG network members, so maybe you can share that in the sort of post when you share the podcast as well. And for me, I'm really active on LinkedIn, so just find Michael Adeniya on LinkedIn. And yeah, you'll see more about me and the kind of career path that I've been on and my background and yeah, the things that excite me.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today, Michael. I really enjoyed our
Thanks,
chat.
Samantha. Cheers. Well, look forward to seeing you at the show.
I'll see you there.
All right, take care.